Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I want to tell you about some of the absolute best horror movies you can currently watch on Amazon Prime. Now last week I told you about some of the best throwback horror movies, and on that list there were certainly some of the best movies like Carrie, Pumpkinhead. I haven't included really any old throwback ones on this list since I just covered them, so most of these, if not all of them, have come out since 2000, but they're all really great picks to watch this Halloween. Now, all the way back at number 10 is The Skeleton Key, which is a fairly straightforward, formula-based horror movie, haunted house, creepy things going on, high production value, but it's PG-13, so it's not going to grab you the way some of the really more intense ones I've got on this list will. However, it does have that mass appeal effect, so if that's not your bag, and it's not a lot of people's bag when it comes to horror, you can probably skip this one. But if you're just looking for a nice, well-rounded horror flick for Halloween that you don't have to think too much about, The Skeleton Key could be a really great way to go. For a very recent release, The Monster is a very low-budget movie about a mother and daughter trapped inside of a car on an abandoned, wooded road, and they're being attacked by what you can only call a monster. Again, very, very low budget, not a lot of special effects, which is great for horror sometimes because that means the movie really relies on the editing, just the sense of dread that it can create through simple things with the camera, and this movie does all of that stuff really great. It's got its flaws. Again, most of those revolve around the fact that it is so low budget, but if you can look past that and you do enjoy a good low budget movie from time to time, this is a great little monster movie. Speaking of monster movies, Jeepers Creepers, it's currently on Amazon Prime. I recommend it if you never watched it. It gets a little bit of a bad rap because, again, it seems like one of those formula type things, but it's really not. It appears to be, but it kind of does its own thing. It's fun when it should be fun. Justin Long plays a good character, and he's fun. This is before he was really particularly famous. The monster in this is pretty good. It's got kind of a cool vibe. You're dealing with like the old oak trees and the Spanish moss, and the Jeepers Creepers monster drives this really ratty truck that's kind of crazy. And the movie just does some things that you might not expect, that I certainly didn't expect from a movie like this. It's just got more going on than you would think, which is why they've made several of them. Jeepers Creepers 2 is on one of the movie services, maybe like Showtime, and Jeepers Creepers 3 is only on Netflix. So if you want to binge watch Jeepers Creepers, I would start with Amazon Prime. At number 7, the one on the list I'll probably get the most hate for is Paranormal Activity. Now, this was a phenomenon when it came out. It just took the country by storm. I saw this twice in the theaters, once because I went with a work group and once because me and my then girlfriend, now wife, went, and it was two very, very different experiences. So I'd be curious to know in the comments what your first impression of this movie was. But when I went with my now wife, it was a crowded theater and the tension in the room was palpable. The audience was quiet. The people around us were nervous when they should have been nervous. It was fun. I really, really enjoyed this movie. It was a really nice surprise. And then when I went and saw it with a work group, I had already seen it, so that's a factor. But it was a small group. Nobody was really getting nervous. There was no real tension building in the room. In fact, people were kind of laughing at just sort of how cheap and silly the movie is. So it was a fun watch, but it wasn't a particularly scary watch. Again, I had already seen it, but I'd be curious, did you find this one fun, or did you find it really scary the first time you saw it? At number 6, one I'm sure a lot of people passed on, is Jigsaw. Now, the Saw franchise got really tired. It got really worn out. I think they did 7 of them in the Saw series, so it went all the way up to Saw 7. And Jigsaw would be the 8th, and it doesn't have the name Saw, obviously. But this one is actually pretty good. Now, it still is a Saw movie. If you didn't like any of the Saw movies, you're probably not going to like this one. But if you found you liked the first 1 or 2 and then lost interest, I would revisit it with Jigsaw. It's very well done. It's done by the same directors that did Daybreakers, which I really liked. They did a handful of other movies that were really kind of cool and fun to watch. But I think they did a good job with it. They sort of breathed some new life into it. It is familiar. It does feel like a Saw movie. But it's got a little spark of something new, and it does feel like the best produced movie really since the original one. If you like content like this, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon because it's the only way you'll get notified when I put a new video out. House LLC is another found footage movie. It's just like all the other found footage movies, except it's better than a lot of the stuff we've been getting. If you're worn out on that format, I certainly agree. I get it. It's kind of overplayed. It's an easy format to pull off on a low budget, and so that's why we get so much of it. But House LLC is deceivingly good, meaning that when it starts off, it just seems like some college kids made it. There's nothing really bad about it in the beginning. It just doesn't seem like there's going to be much there. And then as this story progresses about a group of people putting on a professional grade haunted house, things start to happen in the house that they've rented in this old house, and it really progresses in a great way. The movie actually kind of kicks off within the first 10 minutes and sort of hooks you in well, I think, and then it ends up, in my opinion, delivering. This was a nice little hidden gem that I found months back, so I've been excited to share it with you this Halloween. If you like anthology horror movies, and let's be honest, who doesn't? Southbound is a really great little gem that just came out a few years ago. It's got some slightly humorous elements, but it is fairly gory. It's one of the gorier movies on this list, but it is fun if you enjoy gore. If you like the Twilight Zone, if you like things like that, this is a must-watch. It's spooky, it's weird, it's going to surprise you. Some of the creators behind VHS were behind this one. It does not have the found footage vibe. Everything's kind of glossy and produced well, but it's great. It's a nice little gem that I know a lot of people missed. If you didn't watch this one, anthology movies to me are just great at Halloween because you can consume a lot of horror in a very short amount of time, and Southbound is a really, really fantastic way to do that. Absentia is a really great, really, really low budget horror movie you can currently watch. It's been out for a few years. The director has gone on to be successful in the horror genre. He's done several other movies, all good stuff, but Absentia is an exceptional movie done on essentially a shoestring budget. I mean, there's really almost no effects in this movie, yet it builds this scary story very, very well. Just like any horror movie, there are dissenters, there are people who are going to say it's not scary. That's fine. Honestly, though, if you turn the lights off and allow yourself to suspend disbelief and get into this one, Absentia can really, really get under your skin. And cool little side note is it's loosely, very, very loosely based on the Billy Goat's Gruff. I don't want to say anything more, I don't want to spoil anything, but knowing that on the first viewing makes it a little bit more cool. If you want to support the show, you can do so a number of ways. You can buy a t-shirt on my Teespring store, you can become a patron, and maybe even get a free t-shirt depending on which level you pick. There's links to all of that in the description below. At number 2, I've got a really just cringe-worthy horror movie from Australia called The Loved Ones. This is about a girl who kidnaps a boy that says no to her for what we'll call prom. I guess it's like their prom, and has like a little party at her house, and it is chilling. It is gonna make your spine tingle in ways you're not gonna be comfortable with, but it's really well executed. It's got some nice sort of teen angst stuff. It's got a little bit of like an 80s throwback vibe. It's got some cool stuff going on with it. Fun like little details, but on the surface, it is just a gritty, almost sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque type of a horror movie. If that's your bag and you never saw this, what is to us in the US a foreign flick, I can't recommend it enough. Plus, it's a great way to watch a foreign movie without having to read any subtitles. And then at number 1, I debate not putting it up there because this movie is so incredibly flawed. But for Halloween, it's the weirdest, craziest, gnarliest thing I think you could watch. It's called The Evil Within. It does have its scary moments. And the thing about this movie is it's self-financed by a millionaire who was addicted to meth and who died before this movie came out. In fact, this movie was riddled and plagued, it might be a better word, with horrible things. People dying. The production stopped multiple times, sometimes for years. So the actors even age a little bit throughout a movie that takes place over less than a year. And it is weird, but the visuals, Like some of the special effects were all done with somebody with no experience, and they like figured out how to do really wild, crazy stuff, and it looks cool. Like the movie's got like this incredible charm to it. I enjoyed the shit out of it. The major flaw with it that makes it not as good as some of the other ones on the list, cinematically, is because the director died before it was finished. His co-director or editor finished the movie for him, and you can kind of feel that the movie sort of like, it lost me at one point, like at the maybe like 80% mark, and then it sort of like found me again, and it's missing a couple of pieces of the puzzle, but it still works. And for just something that's off the wall crazy, there is nothing better, in my opinion, nothing better on Amazon Prime right now, especially for one that I know a lot of you have not seen. So that is the list. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed picking these out. I enjoyed watching every single one of them. So hopefully that adds to your enjoyment of the holiday season. I will keep making videos like this, though, as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.